Elizabeth Montgomery refused to ever work with him again. Now we know why. Before the story continues, please subscribe to my channel and like and comment. Thank you. It was one of the most beloved shows on television, a light-hearted escape into a world of magic, comedy, and charm. But behind the scenes of Bewitched, there was tension, deep, personal, and unshakable. Elizabeth Montgomery, the enchanting Samantha Stevens, made a decision that stunned Hollywood. She would never, under any circumstances, work with one of her co-stars again. For decades, fans wondered what happened to cause such an irreversible rift. Now, the truth is finally coming to light, and it's more shocking than anyone expected. Elizabeth Montgomery was Hollywood royalty. Born in 1933 to acclaimed actor Robert Montgomery and Broadway actress Elizabeth Bryan Allen, she grew up surrounded by scripts, cameras, and a quiet pressure to shine. But Elizabeth wasn't just riding her family's fame. She was carving her own path. By the time she took the role of Samantha Stevens in Bewitched in 1964, she had already proven her versatility in dramas, thrillers, and comedies. Her mischievous smile, signature nose twitch, and undeniable chemistry with the cast turned Bewitched into an instant cultural phenomenon. The world saw magic. The crew saw professionalism. But Elizabeth also had a backbone of steel. And when someone crossed her, she didn't forgive easily. When the show began, Elizabeth starred opposite Dick York, the original Darren Stevens. York was charming, witty, and beloved by audiences. But his chronic back pain forced him to leave the series after 5 seasons. Dick's sergeant replaced him as Darren. For viewers, it was a shock. 2 different actors, same character. For Elizabeth, it was a chance to rebuild the show's chemistry. But the man she would ultimately refuse to work with wasn't Dick Sargent. It was another Bewitched regular, a face audiences had grown to love. And his off-screen behavior would push Elizabeth to her breaking point. In television, tension happens. Long hours, tight deadlines, and clashing personalities can lead to disagreements. But in the case of Elizabeth Montgomery and her co-star, it went beyond petty arguments. Multiple crew members have since recalled a pattern. This co-star was dismissive, made snide remarks, and, according to some, deliberately tried to undermine Elizabeth's authority as the show's lead. He would arrive late to scenes, disregard her suggestions, and in private, complain about her ego. Elizabeth wasn't confrontational by nature. She was known for her kindness to guest stars and her support of younger actors. But the disrespect kept building until one particular incident made her vow never to work with him again. It happened during the filming of a season 6 episode. Elizabeth had been struggling with exhaustion, working on Bewitched while raising children and managing personal troubles, including a strained marriage to the show's director, William Asher. On set, she made a small request to adjust the blocking of a scene. It was a simple change, nothing unusual. But instead of agreeing, her co-star exploded. In front of the crew, he accused her of being controlling and impossible to work with. The room went silent. Elizabeth didn't shout back. She simply finished the scene, then went straight to her dressing room and shut the door. From that moment on, her relationship with him was strictly professional, cold, distant, and final. After the show ended, she told her agent, "I will never, under any circumstance, work with him again." And she kept that promise for the rest of her life. The public explanation was simple: creative differences. But behind the scenes, the resentment was far more personal. Friends of Elizabeth later revealed that she felt the co-star's behavior was rooted in jealousy. She was a star, the face of the show, the reason viewers tuned in every week. And instead of celebrating that, he seemed determined to chip away at her confidence. Elizabeth also believed in protecting the integrity of her work. She didn't care about being the boss, but she demanded respect. And once that respect was gone, so was any chance of reconciliation. When Bewitched wrapped in 1972, Elizabeth moved on to more serious roles, made-for-TV movies, thrillers, and dramas that showcased her range beyond Samantha Stevens. Offers came in to reunite the Bewitched cast for various projects, but she refused if it meant sharing a screen with him. Even decades later, when nostalgia for Bewitched was at its peak, she stood firm. Fans begged for a reunion special. Networks waved big checks, but her answer never changed. No, Her quiet defiance became a mark of her integrity. She didn't need the money. She didn't need the exposure. She needed to stay true to herself. Elizabeth Montgomery passed away in 1995 at the age of 62 after a brief battle with cancer. In the years since, her story has become legend in Hollywood, not just for her iconic role, but for her refusal to compromise her self-respect. Her co-star, the one she swore off, eventually admitted in an interview that he could have handled things better. But by then, it was too late. Elizabeth had taken her final bow, leaving behind a legacy of talent, grace, and quiet strength. Elizabeth's story isn't just about Hollywood drama. It's about boundaries. It's about knowing your worth, standing your ground, and never letting anyone diminish your value. And while the magic of Bewitched will forever sparkle in TV history, the woman behind Samantha Stevens left us a final, powerful spell, one of self-respect that will never fade.